I live for. That's why I come up here to do this. Yes! Yes!
Yes. Thank you, Lord. With the bow, baby. In rifle season, Pennsylvania.
I just got my first target with the bow.
Welcome back to the Relive the Hunt podcast with part 2 of Tom Titlow's 2016 season. I hope you're as excited as I am to hear the end of this story. Let's get into it, Tom.
Yeah, let's jump right back into it. You'll hear about 15 seconds of recorded audio from podcast number 2, and hopefully we left you on the edge of your seat as planned. And now he goes out, and I quick get my rangefinder out, and I'm like, that bush is 50 yards away. If he stands at that bush, I'm shooting. It's a wide open lane. Well, he's going right for that bush. I'm drawing back. I'm ready. I'm on there. He goes and he stops right at the bush at 50 yards, but on the other side of it. I can't put an arrow through the bush. So that was the only time I was able to draw back my bow on Offspring. Never was able to get a shot.
Oh no, so Offspring he's not around anymore, as I already know.
Yes.
We don't have to get into big details there, but let us know the ending of this buck. So that was your last encounter?
Last encounter with Offspring, besides the very next day when I was able to put my hands on him finally.
The very next day after you were on full draw on him?
Very next day. Jared had come up to film me, and I told him I just had an encounter with Offspring. We're hunting this tree stand all day long. He's in this area. I didn't spook him or nothing. He just kind of went away. I didn't spook this deer. He will be back.
So you're going in there the next day to kill him?
Yep. And I have a camera guy with me this time, which takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, it makes it a little easier trying to capture that film. So
yes. So my uncle had texted me about 8:30 in the morning. Got one hit. I said, okay, cool. I said, how big? He goes, nice 8-pointer. Probably scores 100. I said, all right, just calm down. Make sure you hit him. Yeah, I said, where did you hit him? He tells me everything. I said, listen, your best bet's go back. Just go back to the cabin. Calm down. Relax. Let me know if you need a hand. I'll come help you. Or, you might be able to get some guys to come up and help you. Just let this deer go for a while.
Yep. So at this point, all you know is your uncle shot one. You have no idea that it's Offspring, and neither does your uncle.
Has no idea.
And that was in the morning.
Yep. That was in the morning. And they end up going on a Wild West show with Offspring. They track this deer. They jump him. They're like, oh my God, it's a big buck. None of these guys know that it's Offspring. If I would have known that they had shot Offspring, I would have been there helping them. I would have never sat in that tree stand all day long.
Yeah, at that point, you're still hunting this buck.
Yeah.
How far away from you do you think that deer was the next day?
Over half a mile.
So he moved out, as far as you know.
Yes, it pretty much the same ridgeline, but a very far away ridgeline.
Yeah, okay.
A couple thousand yards at least.
Yep. So whether he was chasing doe all night or for whatever reason he was along the ridge farther away from you, and you didn't know.
I had an idea. I knew that he could do that at some point during the rut because he's a roamer.
Yep.
And I knew it. But I did say, I said, if anybody's going to kill this deer, it's going to be my uncle.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So you knew he he hunted his territory, sort of, or
Yes.
when Offspring made a move, it could be that area.
Exactly. So they eventually get Offspring down. They have him back to the cabin. And Jared and I get back, and they're, I got a couple texts. Maddie got one. Maddie got one. I said, okay, cool. This is awesome. We
So
get back.
you hunt all day and get back to the cabin, and you still haven't gotten a picture of this deer. You don't know it's Offspring yet.
No idea.
Tell us about those feelings when you walked up and saw this buck.
So we're riding back on my ATV, and I'm looking, and before we even get 200 yards away from the cabin, I'm looking at this deer laying on the ground, and I said, oh my God, that's Offspring. And my heart sunk.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you can't help. You're happy for the guy shooting him, but it's like a kick in the face almost, knowing it's the buck you've put your whole season into.
It was so many mixed emotions, Cole. It was unbelievable. I felt like I just worked so hard for the Stanley Cup, and it's Game 7, and I lost in overtime. And you know what I mean? It's just...
So you felt sort of like the Nashville Predators.
Except, was that Game 7?
No, it was Game 6. They couldn't even make it that far.
Yeah. Anyway. I should have used a different analogy.
So you see this buck, and
I
every emotion in the book's going through your body.
I don't even congratulate my uncle. I just go over there, and I pick him up, and I'm just staring at him, and I almost want to cry. That's how I felt. Like I almost wanted to cry, and I'm just holding him up, and I'm like, it's finally nice to see you face to face, I'm like, I was after you all season. Like, I'm just having my own conversation with this deer. People probably think I'm crazy.
Well, a little over 24 hours before that, you were at full draw on him.
Yes.
So,
So I got up and I'm like, congratulations, Maddie. You just shot a buck of a lifetime. And I'm like, and I said, don't take me the wrong way. I might not be showing that I'm happy right now, but, I'm pumped up for you. I'm glad you got this deer.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, closure like that is better than the buck just disappearing or somebody from who knows where coming in and killing this buck.
Right. I'd rather a guy I know harvest this deer than somebody coming up that hunts one day in rifle season and shooting this deer.
Yeah.
That puts no time in, no effort, doesn't do anything.
Yeah, the deserving people. Not that everyone's not deserving of it, but the people that work a little harder, and knew that buck. So.
And my uncle deserved this deer. He puts in a lot of work. He puts in a lot of hard time, and he he got it done. He got lucky, and I mean, that's a guy we have to have on the podcast just to tell him this story, because nobody will ever believe it.
Yeah. I've heard the story through video, and we definitely should get him on here to tell that, because it's a wild west chase. It's pretty
literally a Wild West show. So, so that was the legacy and the legend Offspring that was harvested by my uncle. And so, the best thing about it is I'm still going to be able to take a look at him whenever I want.
Yeah. You have full closure with that buck.
Yeah.
And you put your time and everything in, and here we are going through your season, and all these things have gone on, but we haven't even gotten to if you ended up killing a buck this past year.
I mean, we went over it briefly in the first podcast, how we said you were living your season through me, because it was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. It was
really
up and down, and every week and every encounter you had was just like you were another step closer to putting your tag. After passing the bucks you passed, no one deserved it more than you to fill a tag last year, and that was fun to be there and be along with that. So,
well, it isn't over yet.
Yeah, let's jump forward. I know how it ends, but our audience doesn't. Let's jump forward to. I guess it would still be archery.
it's still archery. Let's talk about the next day real fast. After Offspring's done.
Okay. Yep. So the next day you still hunt.
The next day, I get out in the woods extremely late because obviously you have to party after you kill a deer like this.
So you celebrate after
So
Offspring.
we celebrate. And maybe it was more or less getting over losing the Stanley Cup.
Yes. Yeah.
So next day I get out. I'm getting into my stand. It's daylight. I'm like, I'll pull my camera card on the way in. Pull it. Looking at it on my chip reader. And I'm like, wow. That's a really nice 8-point. And I'm like, I hope I see him today. And I put the chip reader away, and I hear... I look to my right. There he is, standing there 25 yards away.
like it was meant to be.
I know. I'm like, no way. No way. So, this deer comes. He's standing 10 yards away. I can't shoot him because of the way the branch on my tree goes. So I'm like, all right, well, he's going to come right through this lane. And he's 12 yards away. I cannot shoot this deer. I cannot shoot this deer because I set my camera arm base way too high in the tree. So my camera arm's going directly across my lane. If I try and draw back, my limbs are hitting the camera arm. I didn't even draw back on this deer, and he was 12 yards away, and it was a 125-inch 8-pointer.
At 12 yards.
At 12 yards.
As if your season hasn't been heartbreaking enough.
I wanted to break the camera arm over my leg.
And that is one of the battles of self-filming yourself.
Well, this year I'm going to use the 4th arrow camera arms, where you can set them up pretty much anywhere in the tree. They're self-leveling and stuff.
Yeah, they have that really nice base system that can put it on any angle you need, pretty much.
Yes. If I would have had that camera arm on that day, I would have had a 12-yard shot at an 8-point deer.
And those are some of those things you don't think of, before you're hunting, but now that something like that happened to you, having a good, reliable camera arm, it's going to come into play. It could be the difference maker in filling your tag or not.
Absolutely, and that definitely would have been a difference maker.
When you're filming, that is. People
Yes.
that don't film don't have to worry about that, but people that choose to film, that is one of the battles.
We're not filming. If I was not filming that day, I would have had a prime opportunity that everybody dreams of, 12-yard broadside shot at an awesome buck for Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Definitely a wall hanger.
So another big buck encounter.
Another big buck that I had just realized I had on a trail camera probably 2 minutes before that.
Yeah.
And then he showed up.
So
that pretty much wraps up.
Yeah,
that pretty much wraps up the northern section hunt for archery.
Okay, so statewide archery comes to an end.
Yes, and now we have extended season in 5D. We're going to move back down south.
All right. Let's jump into that hunt.
I head over to where I saw Shooter near his bedding area, set up there in the morning. And I think it's opening day of bear season, actually, statewide, Pennsylvania. Set up. Do not see a deer all morning. I sat there till 11 o'clock in the morning. Don't see anything. I'm like, well, I'm not coming back here this afternoon. I'm going to go back over to where I saw them $5 on this small parcel and just, this is a Hail Mary.
Yep.
It's a Hail Mary at this point. So, in my stand, and I told myself, I said, if the tall G2 buck comes out, I'm gonna shoot him. I kind of just settled at this point.
Yeah. Still a good buck, but
still a good buck.
The one you wanted is gone, and it's getting later in the year, so.
I really want to get one with my bow. So I see a doe come, like trotting through, probably about 80 yards away, and then I see a buck following her, and I'm like, oh man, that's the G2 buck. Got my binoculars on him. I'm looking. I'm like, that's got to be him. I'm like, I'm shooting him. I'm going to shoot him if he comes down through here.
Okay.
So he's just walking. He's walking. And the whole time I'm thinking it's the G2 buck. So I cow can and I grunt. I just cow can once and I grunt once. And that's it. He stops. And then he just keeps walking. And I don't see him anymore. I'm like, well, he's in this same woodlot as me right now. Anything can happen. I still got plenty of daylight left.
Yep.
Well, not even 3 minutes later, here he comes on a string directly at my tree. I said, how did you turn around and come towards me without me noticing it
Yeah.
at all? Like, deer have magic tricks, I'm telling you. So he's coming, and I'm looking at him. I said, man, he's heavy and tall, really tall. I'm like, that's not the G2 buck. I'm like, this is a totally different deer. I'm like, this is the biggest 6-pointer I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
I mean, heavy, heavy. He's coming down. He's coming. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm shooting this deer no matter what. Even if Offspring was still alive, I'm shooting this deer. So he's come down 15 yards away. He's standing there. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm full draw. Because all he has to do is come behind this tree. I'm shooting 15-yard shot. He just stands there for literally probably 10 minutes. I had to let down.
At 15 yards.
Yes, I had to let
Oh
down.
man.
Didn't pick up on me. So he makes a small move. I draw back again, and he starts walking a little bit. So I'm like, oh no, the camera isn't on him. So I start bumping it with my bow,
Yep.
and I shut the camera off.
Oh.
So I let down again. Turn the camera back on. Now people are probably freaking out right now, like, who cares about the camera?
Yeah, forget the camera, shoot the deer.
Yeah. Well, I still don't have a shot at this deer. He's standing behind this tree.
Yep, okay.
So I'm not drawing back until I know which way he's going now. This is what's in my mind. But I have the camera on him, and I'm like, all right, he's making his move, and now he's going the complete different way that I anticipated. So I quick swing the camera around, and I draw back, and I have a 12-yard shot. Now, a mistake of mine that I think I made was I shot this deer while he was moving. I never stopped him. I shot while he was moving. I knew I hit the deer. I didn't know where I hit the deer, though. It was just a quick shot.
Yep.
So the deer runs around, and he's standing right under my stand about probably 12 yards away again. But the way the hill goes, he's down under me.
Just past your stand.
And I'm looking at him. I'm like, all right, well, are you gonna tip over here? Because I'm thinking I hit him double long, but I'm looking. I'm like, I don't see a hole, or I don't see blood, and I'm looking hard, and I'm like, oh man, I hit him low and behind the shoulder, probably about 6 to 8 inches behind the shoulder.
Okay.
But low, very low.
Yeah. So when you see that, you're thinking you didn't get heart.
Right, at 12 yards, I said that angle is really not a great angle. So now I'm like, oh no, I don't know what I did,
Yeah.
So I get another arrow out, and at this point the deer's just walking away. I mean, if I would have known that I hit him there in the first place, I would have been rushing to get an arrow out immediately. Because I honestly thought I double lunged him, and he was just going to fall over there.
Yeah.
So he starts walking away. I fiddle, and I get my arrow out, and I draw back, and I'm like, I'm just putting another arrow in this deer. I don't care where I hit him. I'm just getting one in him, you know?
Yep, before he gets away.
Yeah. I miss. So I'm like, all right, well, he just kind of trots off, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, well, I'm giving this deer overnight. Already know that. But while he was standing there pretty closely, I did notice a big clump of like guts or digestive stuff fall out. I'm like, well, I know I got like paunch or guts or something. In my mind, I'm like, the deer's gonna die, but not quickly.
Okay. So you're backing out that night.
I'm backing. I already know that I'm out. I'm out, and not going into the next morning. Well, it rains. It pours that night. Absolutely pours. And I had been on the phone with you and Greg and a couple different guys trying to get, some advice. I called Tyler. He's telling me different things. I'm getting mixed emotions here from everybody. So I'm not, I'm going into this thinking, I don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember having the conversations with you. And
yeah.
I actually came down to help you the next day. And from the video and the shot, it was like, man, this could go 50-50. Are you so low that you didn't get anything? Are you high enough that you got intestine or gut? If so, he's a dead deer. Just how far does he go? And so, yeah, I came down to help you track him the next day.
I had my mom, my dad, you, Greg, and my buddy Dave. There was a bunch of eyeballs out there looking for those deer.
Yep. We covered those woods.
We grid searched it pretty darn good, but not good enough.
Yep.
So, long story short, we were able to find some blood, found where he was bedding, and he didn't bed far at all.
Yeah. He didn't make it far from the tree.
No, he didn't. So we end up finding this deer in shed season.
Yeah, that day we covered that wood and all the woodlots around it, and it was like we had so many people and eyes. We almost might have had too many after it all settled down, but we pretty much said that deer is not in any of these woodlots. He's either still alive running around, or he made it so far away that we'll never find him.
I couldn't believe it when we found this deer and where he was. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, tell him. I know where you found him, but it's hard to describe to other people. But he was give us a distance from the tree stand, and
he had to be 150 yards from the tree stand.
And he circled around.
Circled around. He died from the first place in front of me, where the first place I spotted him at that day. I only have myself to blame for this. Typically I would have walked the creek bed all the way up, and I did, but I didn't cross there's a fence that goes through this property. I did not cross the fence to finish the creek. I just stayed on the creek, and I searched for 3 days, 4 days after the fact that I shot this deer in every creek around the whole entire area, except this 20-yard stretch of creek that I thought that we had covered fairly well.
Yeah, between all the people that were in there,
There was people in there that were like, we grid searched it, no sign of the deer. So where we found the deer at, very easily, anybody could have walked by it. I can't point fingers at anybody at all besides myself for not looking on my own.
Yeah, it wasn't due to lack of effort. That
absolutely not.
It's almost to the point where you question whether that deer died that day or if he came back and died, because we felt like we had it covered so good.
To me, I believe that deer was dead, and we would have found him that day while we were looking. And that's my opinion. You may have asked a couple other guys, and they might have different opinions, but that's just mine. So the deer found him in the creek, underwater. There was a blowdown and a blowdown fence that covered the creek. He was under the fence. Like he crawled under there to hide and die.
Yep.
Very easy to miss. It was very thick there. But if you just had to catch it on the right angle, because if you walk by him on the left, you walk by him on the right, you got to come straight down the creek bed, and you got to be walking in the creek to be able to see this deer.
Yeah, so very easily, we walked by it that day.
Absolutely.
Um,
Probably multiple times.
yeah, and it's it's just one of those things. And in the end, you got to put your hands on this buck.
Yes.
It ends up being your biggest archery kill.
Yes. See, I believe unofficial score 125.5 with 8 scoreable points.
And not a very big spread.
I think it was a 12-inch spread.
12-inch spread, 125 inches. But the mass and the height on this deer and the main beams are he's a very unique buck. We'll post some pictures with it, either on social media or whatever we got to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's once in a lifetime deer, one of the biggest. Not I guess it is a success story, but not really the right way you really want to have the success.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Um,
good you found him because he was dead. It
yes.
sucks that it ended up being a couple months later, but that happens. That happens to the best of us out there.
Yep, that happened. I'm sure if you've been hunting long enough, it's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. So.
And it
So
will
your
happen
crazy
if
season, up and down. You
Yes.
end up arrowing this buck. You don't really know how big he is before. You don't find him. At that point, you're crushed.
Yes, and I looked for that deer for by 5 days in a row, but all in the wrong area.
And you probably walk by him within a couple of yards. Not yards, but, maybe 50 yards
Absolutely.
each time you go near that property.
Yep. To get into that, to access that property, I walked by that deer probably 20 times.
And it's just one of those spots. So you don't get to celebrate like you would if you found him the next morning.
Right.
That takes a little bit away from it. You don't get the deer meat. That sucks.
Yeah.
You do get closure though. So
the closure was that helped me. It helped. So now it's rifle season, and I'm up north again.
this is before, obviously, for everyone listening, before shed season and before finding this buck that he shot.
Yes.
And at that point, you had given up on that deer. He was alive or he was dead, too far away for you to find him.
Right.
So you're continuing your season.
I'm continuing my season, thinking that that buck was still alive, hoping that deer was still alive.
Yeah. For everyone that's listening, so he's still hunting. He didn't fill his tag at that point.
Now, opening day rifle season comes. I get in. I have this one area that I found that's been proven to be very successful for rifle season, and I will use a rifle on opening day. So I get my rifle. I'm all sighted in. Everything's good. I'm using my grandfather's gun that he passed down to me, and I never killed a deer with this gun. A buck. I never killed a buck with this gun. So I was really wanted to. I really wanted to do this. I wanted to kill a buck with my grandfather's gun so I could call him up and tell him that I did it. So I wasn't going to be too picky with what deer I shot. I definitely wasn't going to shoot a young 1.5-year-old deer, but I wasn't going to pass up a nice 2-year-old either. So at this point, opening day, a buck comes out first thing in the morning, and it's a buck. It's a really unique buck. I had trail camera pictures of him through all summer. I called him the cheese crawl buck. He had he was really cool. On his left side, he came out real nice. Nice brow tine and 3 on the top. And the other side curled down right down his face and then curled right back up. And it looked like a cheese curl. Really unique and awesome looking deer, and I considered taking a shot. But I was like, the only reason I'm doing this is because of how cool he looks. But I'm like, I kept telling myself, I'm like, but just think how cool he would look next year. So I ended up not shooting him. I
Yep.
let him go,
Okay.
hoping that he was going to be bigger. So I think it's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're hearing shots all morning. Nothing really close to me though. My cousin had harvested one earlier that day, and I see deer movement. And I'm like, all right, here comes some deer. So I turned my GoPro on. I think I turned my camera on. Well, I thought I turned my camera on. I didn't. And then this deer, I see a doe. I'm like, all right. And all of a sudden, this buck starts busting ass from my left to my right. I don't know why he's running. I know he didn't see me. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know if maybe there was another hunter back there somewhere. But he starts running. And I see, I'm like, wow. And I had gotten trail camera pictures in this area of a really tall buck with G2s that are nice G2s. So I'm like,
Yep.
man.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it's a big 6-pointer. I know that this is this big 6-pointer. This is in my mind. I'm like, it's the big G2 6-pointer. I know it's him. So he's coming by. I see the 3 on the one side, and I'm like, it's got to be him. And I just get on him. I'm getting on him, and he starts getting away, and I pull the trigger, and he drops. And he was pretty much at a full sprint when I shot, which, I mean, I have a rifle. It was a 30-yard shot, and I was able to
so
get him.
you were pretty confident
Yes.
at that range, and
Yeah. I was confident with my ability to shoot that deer. And I drilled him. He dropped right in his tracks. And I'm like, oh, I got this deer. Oh my God. I'm freaking out. I'm pumped up. I'm cheering on camera that isn't on. I'm like, yeah, I got him. I didn't know I'd never hit record until I got back to the house.
that's a buzzkill, but
It was a buzzkill, but the GoPro was running, so I do have GoPro footage, and that's actually really neat. You do get to see the kill shot on there.
nice. So your season takes a 360 right there.
Yes, and I'm thrilled. I'm so happy I got this deer. I get down to him, and I'm like, wow, that's a nice 7-pointer. And it wasn't the big 6 I thought about, But I'm like, he's got really nice G2s, and he wasn't. I think he scored 100 inches,
Yeah.
if that. But I didn't care at that point.
Yeah,
I was just
you're
happy.
You're at your camp. You're surrounded by friends and family.
Everybody was pumped up for me. It's just a party, because we're up there all week.
Yeah.
It's a party now. So
you're you don't ever get away from that tradition of going to your camp and rifle hunting. That that shooting a buck 100 inches is just like shooting a 140 at that point.
Yep. That's how I felt. I was thrilled. I was pumped up. And it didn't matter to me if that buck would have been bigger next year. That at that point I didn't care. So my cousin that had gotten the deer, he came down and he helped me. We went back to the cabin. We had a couple beers. We were pumped up. And my uncle calls. He ends up getting a buck. We go help him drag his out. And it was just a great morning. We ended up killing 3 bucks that day. And it was just, party time.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much my season, Cole. And, I did end up successful. And it was a very emotional season. If you guys can, following along, imagine yourself on a roller coaster. And it was pretty drastic up and downs. But it was great. It was a fun season, and I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I always said you had the season people dream of last year, and I truly believe that. I hope everyone else enjoyed this story. It was a little long, but when you have a season like that, it's hard to tell it without the details. So hopefully you guys all got involved in that story, and we're excited to follow along. to have a buck of that caliber in PA to chase and your uncle to kill, and then to fill your tag and rifle season, you know, where you grew up hunting and meaning so much to you. That is a season that people dream of. So
It was excellent. I will never change it for anything. It was awesome. It was just pure awesome.
and you still have that G2 buck to hunt this year, and you got shooter to hunt this year, so the story continues. You know,
Yes.
it's not all for one season. It's going to continue on into this next year.
Yep. There's plenty of potential bucks that don't even have names yet, and I'm sure I'll find somebody.
Yep. Well, I guess we wrap it up there. We kept the listeners on the line long enough if they're still listening. So
Hopefully they are, because that was a pretty cool season. If not, oh well, you missed a cool story.
yeah, take the time to listen to it all if you can. I don't know if people skip around, but I had fun listening to it. I hope you guys did. We are going to call it a night, and we'll bring you another podcast where I'll be filling in my 2016 season, and soon we're going to be getting some guests on here. So look for that. Every
Absolutely.
Friday.
And Cole has had quite the season as well. So
Yeah, I didn't have too bad of a year. I chased some good bucks, so look forward to that in the next podcast. Tomorrow, I don't know when we're going to be releasing this, but tomorrow is Friday, and every Friday we are going to do a featured hunter Friday. We've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. If any of the featured hunters want to be on the podcast, reach out to us. If anybody wants to be a featured hunter, reach out to us. We're just going to share pictures and stories and do that. So look for that, and like us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube. It'll be a while, but we will eventually have the podcast running up on Stitcher and iTunes. Right now it's just going to be through our YouTube channel. So I had fun, Tom. Thanks for filling us in on your year.
I'll tell you what, I almost cried telling the story again.
Yeah, it brings back a lot of emotions. So that's what we're all about here at Relive the Hunt.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Have a great night. Peace out.